So here we are. Welcome back, everyone. This is week 2, day 5 of Web Fundamentals. We are going to dive into this morning's lecture, which is Bootstrap. And I gave a bit of an introduction already before we started the recording, but we'll give a broad overview of what Bootstrap is and how to use it. Okay, today's lesson is going to be very practical, to the point. I won't bog you down with lots of details, but I'll get you started with Bootstrap. And then this afternoon, what we'll do is we'll start our introduction into our agile development cycle. We'll explain what that is this afternoon, and project week. So you guys have finished your test now. You have proven to yourselves, to your cohort mates, and to us that you can create a beautiful website within 5 hours that functions, has some functionality. If you can do that in 5 hours, what can you do 5 hours each day, 5 days next week? Or 4 days, because the 5th day you're presenting. Okay, so we're gonna get into that this afternoon. And I'm going to introduce what the development cycle we're going to be using to work on our projects together. And so you'll have this weekend to think about what type of project you may want to work on. So you'll have times to let ideas simmer in your head of what you could do with your newfound skills, right? And we'll talk about ideas that we can give you for projects. Like, you'll want to talk to maybe you'll know someone. Oh, I don't want to get too far into it, but maybe you know someone in your family, or you yourself have a passion that you wanted to make a website, right? So we're going to get into that this afternoon. And this morning, right, we're talking about Bootstrap. We can use Bootstrap on our project. I mean, we can use everything so far that we've learned on our project. But we're going to find out how Bootstrap makes things, and when I say things, I don't want to say too much, but makes styling our page, everything that we just tested for, way easier, okay? Have you guys ever heard of that phrase, pick yourself up by your bootstraps? Has anyone ever heard it? I'm sure someone's heard it, right? We all live in America. Yeah, someone's heard it. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. What does that mean exactly? It means like you're on the floor and you need to get yourself up. So you just grab your own bootstrap and somehow lift yourself up. So that's why they call this tool Bootstrap, because it's a tool where it's so easy and it's so useful. It's really helpful to get your website off the ground without having to put a lot of work into it through HTML and CSS. So Bootstrap is super cool for that. So we are going to go into our platform here. And if you go to the advanced topics, at the very bottom, you'll see this entry here for Bootstrap that you can select, and you can follow along. I'll be partly going through this, but I'll mostly be going through the Bootstrap documentation itself, and creating my own website using Bootstrap. Okay, it won't be too complex, but it'll be enough to get you guys started with Bootstrap. Okay, so let's go through this now. And so here's the Bootstrap website. This is what we're going to get started with. I'm going to explain what this is in just a minute. I told us that it's going to be almost like a shortcut for CSS, right? But here's where we want to get started in order to read the documentation for what it is that we're engaging with. And the way that you can find this is just by going on to Google, a Google search, and type in Bootstrap. You go to Bootstrap in your search, and then the first entry here, the first website that we see, you can click there, and there's our website. Okay, so this is where we want to be. It's getbootstrap.com. And I'll link it in the chat just so you guys have it. Okay, there you are. So the website is there that I'm going to use to implement Bootstrap. So like I've said, Bootstrap is a tool that's going to help us build a website with ease. So all the tools that we've learned so far with HTML and CSS, imagine we are, for example, cobblers. We're shoe builders, okay? Let's just pretend that we're in another profession for a minute, okay? We've learned how to take the different parts of the shoe, the sole, the leather, the straps, the laces, and to sew them together by hand, by scratch. We're able to knit something together, taking all the individual pieces and smoothing and grinding out all the pieces and knitting it together. We're able to do that from scratch using, for our analogy, HTML and CSS. What this tool is, then, this Bootstrap is like a, I don't know, a shoe building machine. And we can, with this machine now, it'll create these like shoes that will come out custom built, and we can customize them. Now that we're cobblers, we can edit our shoes, but they have this pre-packaged form already that they come in. And so we're working with those pre-packaged forms. And I'll explain the use of this, but let's show what I'm saying first. Okay, so let's take this into our project. Let's create a project and then incorporate Bootstrap into our documentation. And I'll show you how it's not so different than the HTML and CSS that we're already working with. So to begin with, I've created a Bootstrap folder that you can see here. I'm highlighting it on my top right. So there I am. I've opened that in Visual Studio. So here I am, and now I'm going to create an HTML file. So index.html. Nothing new so far. And then exclamation mark, enter. And then we get our boilerplate. Now let's create our style.css. Yeah, style.css. And let's just leave it there. And let's link it. Let's link link :CSS. And we have our name of our CSS file. Okay, so here we have this, and I can type it in something like this, h1 hello world. And then if I run this code, here we are. Here's my basic HTML hello world. We've all done this before plenty of times, so no surprise yet, nothing new. But now I want to incorporate Bootstrap. So now I'm going to start talking a little bit more about what Bootstrap is. And I'll talk about that as I incorporate it in, so it makes sense. Okay, so when you get to the landing page of Bootstrap, if you scroll down just a little, you'll see on the right-hand side this section here that says include via CDN, right? This here, this is what I'm looking at. And what we see here is a link and a script tag. Where have we seen this before? Anyone? We've done this plenty of times, right? Links on HTML. Where does the link go? The head, right? The link goes in the head of the CSS. And what about the script tag? Where does the script tag usually go on the HTML page? Bottom of the body, exactly. So let's go ahead and take these and we're going to attach them where we've just said to. Okay, so I'm going to take that first link. I copied it by clicking that clipboard button, and I'm going to attach it here, right below the CSS link. Here we are. You guys are funny. And so I put that in the head. And so now the link is there, and it's neighbors with my link, and that's okay. I have two CSS links now. One CSS link goes to my CSS rules, which is blank, and I don't have anything there yet. I don't need anything there yet. But I also have on line 7 another link. And as you can see here, this goes to a website, href. Remember, href goes to a site, and it goes to this one here. So let's go there. So if we click, command click, it'll take us, I'm sure, to this website. Here we are. Oh, look at this. What do we have here? What do we have here? What I'm going to do is just copy all of this stuff. I'm going to copy, highlight, right click, copy. And this to me, what does it look like to you guys at first glance? So what does all this stuff look like? Anything you've learned so far? Death? What language? What language? What's the most obvious thing? It looks like CSS, right? It looks like CSS. So let's just for a second see what this is, because I went to this website, I'm following the rabbit trail. I clicked this href, it took me here, I copied this text here, it looked like CSS. So if we paste this in our CSS file, what happened? They didn't want to copy everything? Let me see. There you can. Okay. It doesn't want to copy everything. So something there is preventing me. Even your clipboard is like, no, please. Yeah, I know. My clipboard's not liking that I'm trying to copy all this. I think it's just too much at once that I'm trying to copy. But what I'm trying to show you guys is that this is CSS. So let me just copy like something less than the whole thing. Let me just go to here. How about that?
Some people are saying it might be all in one line. Like,
oh, I see. Okay. So we need to do this then. We need to format it. Hold on. Format document. What happened to my shortcut? Okay. I am a little rusty. So my shortcut, I did forget. Shift Option F for Mac users. It's okay. Let's look at what we see here now. Oh, okay. So we have a huge CSS file. All right. Interesting. So this CSS file is what we are then incorporating when we put this link here. So it's going to this website and it's taking these pre-written CSS rules that you see there. Okay, so what this link does is grab these CSS rules, and as you can see, there's a lot going on here. And so you don't need to read through this and dissect one by one what each thing is going here. What we're going to do is read the documentation in order to see how to pull from this into our HTML, and how is this and see how this is going to simplify our work, because already you can see CSS is done for us. The CSS is done for us. We just need to now figure out how to incorporate this pre-made CSS into our website. Okay. And so fun fact, this tool, Bootstrap, was created by Twitter. And Twitter is now called X. And so now we have a, what come this thing is acting weird. Now we have a tool created by a company it's just interesting to me. I had to think about that this morning before doing this lecture. So, all right. And so we've grabbed now our CSS, and as you can guess here, we have one more part, our JavaScript. So let's copy this into our clipboard. And then we go to our HTML file, and we go here to the bottom of the body, and we paste our script tag at the bottom of our body, like we said. And we can take a look at what this JavaScript is as well. So if we go here and then we copy all of this, so Control A, or I'm going to Mac, so Command A, then Command C, and then I go here, and then I can create a script.js file. Okay. And then let's do Shift Option F to format. And for PC users, I believe the shortcut is Shift Alt F, right? Shift Alt F. Nice. Okay. So here we have our JavaScript. Let's expand this a little bit and start from the top. A lot of JavaScript functionality pre-written for us. So we don't need to write any JavaScript functionality. So we can see half the battle is already won for us. We've done, well, all we needed to do was link our CSS CDN link in our head, just like a normal CSS file, and then our script at the bottom of the body. And we can also incorporate our own script tag as well. So we can write our own JavaScript functionality on top of the Bootstrap. So I can say / find my script tag, and there we are. So I have two script tags. One goes to my JavaScript file, and another one goes to Bootstrap's JavaScript file. Okay, so now we've linked Bootstrap to our project. I've just created these extra files to show you what those links contained. So we don't actually need this. We can link this properly. We don't need to. So let's just do this. Let's just focus on seeing one thing at a time. So I'm going to delete this so there's no room for confusion. We don't need our own custom JavaScript and CSS files, but we can see that we can incorporate them on top of grabbing them from Bootstrap. Okay, so at this point, I want to pause and get a 1 through 10 from you guys on the chat. How well do we understand how to link our CSS and JavaScript from Bootstrap? And we understand that Bootstrap is a tool that has some pre-written JavaScript and CSS written for us, that now we just need to know how to incorporate into our HTML.
And I'd like to add something as well.
Yes, please.
As someone, I think it was Brian, looks like a lot of classes we can attach to elements in HTML. It's exactly right. Bootstrap has already made their own set of classes. They named it their own way, and they styled it their own way. So now that we've linked to that Bootstrap CSS, we're able to access their library of classes. Okay, and that's ultimately, Bootstrap is a utility. Okay, it's going to help us out and do that. One more thing, that script tag is mainly just for certain classes of Bootstrap. Maybe there's a drop-down menu that you can pick as a class, and Bootstrap's script tag will allow us to add some animation to it. Okay, so that's really the only reason to bring in that JavaScript script right there, is because some Bootstrap classes have some type of functionality to it. And you correct me if I'm wrong on that, Josh, but I just want to make sure that was clear as well.
Yes, thank you, Vincent. Great segue. So let's talk about why we need these. So let's look at our documentation in our Bootstrap website. So I go here by clicking the docs at the top left of our nav bar. And so when I click the docs button, I'm able to then scroll on the left nav bar column and look through all of the different available options that Bootstrap offers. So they're in different categories, as you can see, and the categories are divided into layout and then content and forms and components. So let's take a look into what these pre-built components do. How can we pull in those pre-built things that Bootstrap had built and then bring it into our own page? And once we get a grip of that for a moment, we're going to transition into a grid system that Bootstrap has built into our website. So I'll explain more about what that is, but we're going to go through this lesson in phases. One, I'm going to show you these pre-built components that help you build a website with them. What these components are is, let's show you one. So the first thing that we usually see on a website at the very top is a nav bar, right? So this has different links and it has a search bar here. And so let's just start from like what a website would have from top to bottom. I don't have a definite picture of what the website should look like, but we can just pull from different components here that are built and then strap together a website real quick. So that's the fun thing about Bootstrap, is that you can grab these pre-built components, make a website in no time. And so let's get started. And then I want to talk a little bit about my experience with Bootstrap as I do this. Okay, so here we have an example of what a nav bar would look like if we pulled it from Bootstrap's pre-built nav bar components. So there are some pre-built components that we can incorporate. By the way, we can use all of this code for free on our website, on our own websites. So you can use them on your own project. No need to reference. Just use it. Okay. So let's go ahead and bring in one of these nav bar available into our website. And you can see there's different nav bars. There's not just one. They have different examples of different nav bars that you can incorporate. And what you do is just click that copy clipboard button, and it copies all the code that's made. This is all the code that's needed to build a nav bar that looks like this. So let's shop around. Let's look at a different nav bar, see what else we can pull in. These ones are really simple. This one just has like a header, as you can see. Header at the left, top left. This one has an image at the top left. And so this one has an image and the name of the whatever website you're on, the company or the name of the website. So there's other nav bars here. We can see we have this one, has several options, right? We won't look into the code too deeply yet. We just want to look at which one suits us now. We want to see the different options. So what does Bootstrap have to offer us? We have different nav bars so far. So this one here, this one has a disabled option. So let's say you even want to have a nav bar option that's disabled for certain users. Well, you can do that too. So you can have disabled nav bar options here. This one is one. And also we have a drop-down link on a nav bar. I think I like this one. I'm going to stick with this one. Okay, we don't need to go too deep into all the types of nav bars, but this one is cool because this one has a drop-down link that I can pick several options from. I just want to choose one. So let's go with this one. And so I see that the code relative to building this nav bar is below. So I'm going to copy this here, say copy to clipboard. And I'm just going to delete my H1 that I have there and then paste that in there. Just paste. And that's it. Let's see what we have. Okay, so we have a nav bar where we had a hello world before. So this is now my page, and I have a nav bar. And as you can see, well, let me show you. This nav bar first, we have these options that we can click from this drop down. And well, we can look into this HTML here and we can see already the names of the different links. So if we wanted to change the names of the links there, we just go there and we just change it. We can say, maybe say instead of features options. And there we have options. So we'll look into how Bootstrap HTML code is written, but I first just want to show you what it can do. Just pasting it in from Bootstrap's documentation gives you that cookie cutter nav look. And you can customize this, but this is the initial look that we get. Another thing I want you guys to note is how Bootstrap is responsive. And what I mean by responsive is if I grab the edge of my window and I collapse it, do you see how those options at the top left of the nav bar then disappeared as I collapsed them and became a button at the top right of my nav bar? So now I can click this button and I have my options. So what this does is it allows for desktop view and then mobile view as well. Because our website, our projects that we're going to create this coming week, we want to optimize our website for mobile. So everything we've done up to this point, we've shown you how to build websites on a desktop. And I didn't plan to incorporate this into the lecture, but I figure just now that it should be mentioned that we are building projects that most likely will be viewed on a mobile device. When you create your projects and you put them on your portfolio on your okay, but I see your comment. This feels like cheating, and I have something to say about that. So I won't let that slide. When you sorry, I got distracted by that comment. What was I saying? Test you guys, make sure you're listening. I lost my train of thought. It was interesting, but it was going somewhere interesting. Mobile apps. Yes, thank you. Glad someone's paying attention. All right, so I want to show you guys a tool here. What we can do is inspect our page, right? We've gotten familiar with this already, the inspect tool. This is the inspect tool, right? If we want to, let's say, bring this to the bottom, we can say dockside to the bottom there. Let's fully expand this window. And this nav bar that stretches across my whole page, I want to see what it looks like in different device views. So what I'll have to do then is click this button icon at the top left of this dock, which this icon here is for different screen sizes. And so when you click it, it brings you to this view of your website. So now you can change the dimensions. You can change the window size, as it were, without changing the window size. So it's like a option of viewing your page within a window. And so what you can also do with this, besides seeing a responsive view of your page, is click here and choose different devices that your website would appear on. So let's see what our website looks like so far on a iPhone 12. So this is the size of an iPhone 12. Size is 390 by 844 pixels. And it's at 50% view. So let's change it to 100 so we can see a little better. Okay, this is at 100% view. So we see this is what our website would look like on mobile. And why I'm showing you this, the reason I'm showing you this is because I want you to see that Bootstrap has all its components built for mobile as well. So you don't have to think of the extra work of how to optimize your website on how it would look for desktop, how it would look for mobile. You can put those custom features and rules in, but it already has some pre-defined, pre-built rules in the CSS that allow for responsiveness within the pre-built components that you're seeing here. Okay, so let's type in the chat 1 through 10 how well we're understanding how we can see the different device views, why they're important, and how Bootstrap optimizes their CSS to account for it. So I want to make sure you guys are following along, going in different directions here, but we have one target that we're going to aim for here, which is how to use Bootstrap. Okay. And so this maybe is a good chance to talk about how it feels like cheating, right? It feels like we've just learned so hard how to build something from scratch, and now we're taking this tool that like we can take some pre-built code, and now it, did it just undermine everything we learned about how hard it is to build a website from scratch? No, it didn't. It didn't. You need both skills, trust me. And I tell you this from experience because after I story time, after I graduated the dojo, I worked on my own projects, right? Like I didn't have project week, at least for WebFun. So you guys have that awesome privilege. And so I built my own projects. I spent so much time away from CSS and HTML that I did go to Bootstrap. I wanted to learn how to use it because I did think it was a cool tool, even though it did feel like cheating, right? And I built my portfolio apps with Bootstrap, and for the job that I actually passed and landed the interview, they were kind of looking at my portfolio project. I didn't explain to them how I use Bootstrap to build it. I thought, well, if they notice, I'll tell them. But if not, hey, it was a tool that I had to use. I put that on my resume. So it helped me build the project for the opportunity. And once I was in there, they had their own pre-built components that had Bootstrap-like rules. So all that time I had spent with Bootstrap thinking I was cheating actually helped me for the job because they had some pre-built components that they wanted us to incorporate. And the way to style these components, the way to incorporate them was a mirror or a mimic of how Bootstrap worked, almost to the T. So it was really helpful to have learned it, even though it felt like it was shortening the work. It really did save me on the job. So don't feel like learning Bootstrap is taking a shortcut in front-end development. It is definitely not. So whatever path you choose, if you like to custom build your own CSS and HTML, and you don't like to play with someone else's pre-built stuff, then that's totally your prerogative. You can do that if you like. But if you want to use Bootstrap, you're not shortcutting yourself. You're still helping yourself. So whatever you choose to learn, whatever way you prefer, just make sure that you're continually learning, and that you are still familiar with how to use Bootstrap, even if you don't prefer to use it. You can modify the Bootstrap code, and I'm going to go into that now. And what do I mean by modify? Well, there's a couple ways that you can modify it. You can incorporate the code as you see here, and Bootstrap has some rules that you can add into where this is here. This class is where all those rules for what a nav bar should look like, what it should behave like, and how it exists. It's all written in the class, as you can see here. Okay, so it's all written in the class. And you can modify this part, or you can add your own CSS rules that would override the Bootstrap CSS rules with your own IDs or classes that you can target from your own CSS. So there's more than one way to go around Bootstrap's pre-built component. Okay, so we have a nav bar. I want to make it like a dark nav bar like we see here. So how do we do that? Let's figure out how we do that. I always forget, but it's fun to learn. So let's figure out how we can do that. Okay, so here we are. Navbars can be themed with CSS variables that scoped with navbar base class. Okay, so it needs that navbar in the base class. And then it says here navbar dash light has been depreciated and navbar dash dark has been rewritten. Okay, so we know this here is what we need then. Navbar dash dark. Does your CSS become priority by default? We have to, yes, make it priority by default. So do you remember in CSS how we can target an element and prioritize our CSS to give those rules? Do you remember how we can target CSS elements? There's the what? Class and then ID. So ID is the way to do it. Okay, good question. And guys, feel free to interrupt me anytime if you have a question, okay? So let's go ahead and incorporate this as I was saying here. So let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find where I can put this. So I need to put this somewhere in here, I believe, in this class. So I can say navbar dash dark. I'm going to remove that dot because I know I'm already in this class here. So let's see what this looks like now. Oh, I think I put it in the wrong spot. So definitely wrong spot. Let me cut it out of here. So Command X. I just feel like it might be a while. Not gonna find it right away. Sometimes documentation doesn't make it so obvious, and it's a lot like getting something from IKEA. You think it's intuitive until you read the instructions and you're like, oh, I missed some pieces there. So so let's not go too deep into customizing with colors yet. I just want to give you guys a broad overview, and then you guys take the day to explore this website and bring in some components. Okay, so let me show you guys what other pre-built components we have while we have some time left, because I know that we're going over the hour at this point. So we have some card components. What does a card do? Well, card is a div. It's a block. It's a bit of information. And in this card here, we have a top half being an image. It can be an image cap. And then the bottom, we have a title and then description, and then a button that does something. Like let's say this card has an item on your e-commerce website, right? So let's say you add to cart or see details or something. So you can incorporate this. Let's copy this. Let's put it in our website. So let's say add a comment, a card 1. Here we are. Okay, so here we have a card. And if we wanted to give it an image, we'd have to incorporate an image. So let's find some random image. I'm gonna say penguin image. I don't know why. That's just the first image that came in my head when I thought something random. So save this. Desktop, and then I said it was in my Bootstrap. And then I'll create a new folder in here called images. And then I'll save it in here as penguin. Okay, so now I have it here. Here's my images with my penguin. And in my card, I wanted to target the SRC. So I say /images, enter, penguin, enter. So let's see what this will look like. Oh, nice. Look, turns out great. So here we are. We have a card, and then we can customize what we'd like there. Penguin for sale. Okay, he's a naughty boy. and then add to cart. We're building what are we building? An exotic animal farm list, zoo, something. I don't know. Okay, so here we have a card. We know how to now incorporate that, and we can customize the size of the card as well. We won't go too deep into that, but I just wanted to show you guys what a card is. Let's look at a carousel. Carousel is like my favorite one, even though it's kind of hard to make it work perfectly. So let's see how this works. And for this one, we have to have some more images. Okay, so let's look. This one here is like it's describing a carousel. What does a carousel do? It cycles through something. So imagine this could be, we see carousels all the time, right? So let's go to new incognito window, Amazon. Do we have any carousels here? I thought I saw a carousel last time I was here.
We have to click on something.
There we are.
To make it
here we have some fashion stuff here. And so this arrow is a carousel cycle. Here we have some shoes and clothing. So let's look at our carousel here and see how it looks and behaves very similarly. All right, so very similar, but one image at a time. And there's plenty of carousels built already in JavaScript. This is just one of them that Bootstrap has built for you. There's different versions of this as well. So as you noticed, Josh, when I shrunk the page, it had accounted for mobile view. So it has Flex options pre-built into it. And I do want to show you guys that before I close out this lecture. So I'm showing you just some pre-built components, and I will show you how it handles styling, as I imagine you're asking, John. So let me just remember your question in a few minutes, but I just want to show you guys a couple components before I go deep into that. So great question, John. And so we have a carousel. We have a navbar. We have a card. What else can we incorporate? I want to show something else. This carousel we didn't really fully incorporate. Let's see. Let's do that now. Carousel. Where is this? Okay. So here it is. It's already there, but it has no images, so we can't really see it's working well. So let's pull some images from the web. So we need about 3, right? 1, 2, 3. So let's pull some images. What do you guys want on this carousel? Someone give me an idea. Type it in the chat or say it out loud. 3 more naughty penguins. Oh my gosh, that was funny. Okay, soup. Yeah, how about soup? Soup images. Mongoose. How about all 3? Get silly with it. Beatman. Okay. I don't know who that is, but I've seen you guys' images in Discord. I don't even want to ask. So look at this soup. Oh man, the soup looks great. Okay, so let's do that. Save this one.
Super.
Okay, here we are. Soup. Right. 2 more images. Someone else said mongoose. That's funny. Oh, look at that. That's funny. That's funny. Okay. Here we are. Call him Mongo, the mongoose. And penguin. 1 more penguin. Here we are. This one's going to be penguin dance. All right, so now we have our images. They're all in our image folder. So let's target them. / images. Get one. Okay. And depending on the size of the image is going to, it's going to tell us how well it's going to play within this carousel, how well it's going to fit in. So look, see this image, how it's so big? It's so big that it's taking up that whole, it's too big. But we can still cycle through, as you can see. If I click here, and we go to this image, then we go here. So we have our 3 images. And we can control the image size either through targeting or there, see this rule here, D block width 100. So let's make this width 50. Let's see what that does. Oh, okay. So this one now is just shortened it, as you can see. Carousel is the same size, but the image is shortened. So I'll let you guys dabble with that, tinker around. That's the best way to learn, okay? So my advice to you guys is that since we are all, in a way, learning computer science, think of yourself as scientists. Experiment to learn, okay? Incorporate the code, try to break it, try to customize it, fix it around, see what does and does not. Add your own CSS in JavaScript to see if you can make what you want to work, okay? So these are different carousels. And as you can see, there's so many cool components that I want you guys to look through each of these components on your own time and find ones that you will like to incorporate into your project if you decide to incorporate Bootstrap into your project. And even if you don't incorporate Bootstrap in your project, you can get some ideas of what you can build on your page through seeing what Bootstrap had already built. Okay, so I won't go too much further down this rabbit hole. What I want to do now is pivot slightly and talk about how we can create a layout of divs on our page and create that grid that we had mentioned. So let's take a look here by going to the layout section on our documentation, then clicking columns. Okay, there's more than one way that Bootstrap has their layout customization available, but this is the way I will have you guys start out and learn, by playing with the column and row system. So this morning, what did we talk about in that nested for loop? We talked about columns, which are the vertical alignments within your block, and then rows, right? Rows are the horizontal segments within your block. And this is very similar in that sense, because what we have here is 3 columns, as you can see, within a row. This div here is a row that contains 3 children divs that are all columns. So let's start seeing how we can understand this and incorporate this, okay? So let's take this first block here, and then I'm going to partition off a part of the page. So now I'm going to go into the column grid system. Okay, so let's paste it in here and take a look at this very important. You know what I also need to do is comment out that carousel for just a moment, because it's a little bit too big on our page right now. So I'll leave that there, but I'll just comment it out for now. And so here now we see our columns, and it's side by side with our card. I also want to comment out our card. So let's focus on seeing one thing at a time. So let's comment this out. Command slash, and now underneath our navbar, now we have, as you can see, 3 columns, and how many rows? It's a trick question. So easy. 1 row, right? Just 1 row. So one horizontal line across. So that's what I mean by row. This is a row. This is a column. This is a column. This is a column. Okay. So it's a lot like flex. And so let's see then if we add 1 more column within our row. So we know where our row starts and ends by clicking the opening div of our row, and it highlights the bottom closing one. So we want to work within this space. So let's go within this space, but we want to work outside of the space of this column. So we don't want to interweave columns. Our structure won't stand that way. So we have another 4th column that we've built now within the same row. And so if we take a look at our page now, our row evenly divides those 4 columns. And so now we're getting to see how the row column system is a lot like what in Flex. Anyone remember? That Flex, remember we used to give the children a Flex number. Yeah, like a pie, it gives it evenly partitions each piece of the pie evenly. Okay, so no matter how many columns we add, it will evenly divide that row between that many columns. So now we have 5. And let's add another row. So I'm going to copy this whole row. And I'm going to add it right below. So the rows share one container. This row is one row. The row below it is another one. And their parent is this container. So now if I refresh, we have 2 rows. This is 1 row. And then the second row is right below it. So I'm putting a line through it, but what I could do is block it out. So this is a row. Do you guys see that there? Can you guys give me something in the chat, 1 through 10, so I know that you guys are understanding how the row column system works so far? Okay. Now we're coming close to an end. I know we've had an interesting long day so far. So let's take a look at our column system one more time. Okay. And it's as simple as saying class equals call and class equals row. We don't even need this here. This is additional. And then the rows are within the container. So I've just deleted the fluff around all that there that you see. And now we still see 2 rows with 5 columns. So all I've done is say div class row and div class call for a column within the row. Okay. Now we can start making our rows or our columns within our rows behave in certain ways that we'd like them to behave. So we see here the first row, we have a column that says align self start. And then we have another column that says align self center, and then align self end. And that's how we have the staggering stepping stone style column within this row column grid system. We have some horizontal alignment. And as you can see, this is very similar to your flex properties. This is why we had you learn flex, so that you can easily pick up Bootstrap as well. And so we have a row here that has column call -4. What does that mean? Can anyone give a guess there? One of two columns, one of two columns, and it has that call -4. Okay, so let me explain something then here. Each row can be divided into 12 columns. 12 columns, think. It can be divided into 12 columns. So what is 4 out of 12? How many times does 4 go into 12? 3. So then if you say call -4, it will take 1/3 of the size of that row. So we have call -4, that's 4 out of 12, 1/3. Second one is another one of the same size. That's why the first row we have the 2/3 taken up, and the third column is empty there. Okay, so you guys get a sense of that there. And what else? This can go a little much deeper. What if you want your columns and your rows to be different at different sizes? We went over how mobile and desktop are at different window sizes, pixel sizes. What if our website would have something that has 4 columns within a row on a desktop view, but then when you're in a mobile view, it will be in a single column? So there's ways to customize how the columns should arrange themselves on the page based on the size of the device. And so that size of the device is accounted for. It's queried automatically by that SM. So SM is for small, and it has a certain pixel size built into that SM for small devices. Okay, and this will be the last thing I'll show you guys before we close out. So I'm going to copy this to the clipboard. Where can I write it? I think I want to just comment out my code here for a moment. Oops, too much. All right. Normally, I wouldn't leave so much comment and code, but since I'm moving so fast through this lecture, I'm leaving it a little messy without worry. Okay, so here now we have the column system accounting for different column sizes or for different browser window sizes. And so when our browser is a narrow window view, we have 2 columns, right? That's because we've set the rule there to be column 6. By default, it will take up 6 columns. So that's what it's saying there, by default. So what does that mean? I mean, by default, does that mean when you're in mobile? How come is that? Why is that making sense? Well, it's based on this concept of mobile first design. So you define the rules of how your grid should work, and you give the base rules, and the base rules are for mobile. So you design your page for mobile first, and then you start customizing the column system to react differently based on different sizes. So as long when you exit that half column size, then we see here now column SM3. So this is now 3 out of 12 columns. So 3 out of 12, 3 out of 12. And so we need 2 more 3 out of 12s to complete that whole row. So let's maybe add something else. Let's change it to SM instead. Let's say MD. Actually, they didn't do anything. I think the reason why is let's change this. This is what I meant to change. Okay, so let's change this to 6. So I've changed one of the 3s to 6. And that is affecting the size. Hold on a second. Column S, no, it's not changing anything at all because they're saying both go back to the original size. So what I want to do is go to the Bootstrap documentation here and read it for you guys so that it makes a little bit more sense, because I'm doing it intuitively based on memory, and I'm noticing I need to kind of back up here. So let's do that. Breaking columns to a new line in a flex box requires a small hack. Add the element width 100% wherever you want to wrap your columns to a new line. Normally, this is accomplished with multiple rows, but not every implementation method can account for this. So that with 100%, that is what is being mentioned there. With 100%. So class W-100, that's how you can add that CSS rule with 100%, just by writing that in the name of the class there for the HTML, the element there. And so you have breaks at specific breakpoints. And so if you click here, we can see the values of the different breakpoints. Let's see. I think it's going to define it here. Actually, where is that? This is getting into a bit more detailed of Bootstrap. And what I want to leave you guys with is understanding just how, for example, this grid system can be customized to account for different device views. So let's just look at this one here. And let's see, maybe one more. Oh, let's just see a few of them. Okay, so I'm going to copy this one here. And let's look at this view and analyze it for a moment. All right, so we have a row here, and the first column says medium size 4. So when our window is medium size, it should take up 4 column widths. And so when we inspect our page, let's go back to responsive. Inspect our page. That's what we're seeing here. It's still taking 4 out of 12, so it's a quarter of the row. And the way these are separated from each other, even in the same row, is by that offset. Okay. And so there's a lot to dissect here, but at this point in the lecture, I don't want to go much deeper. I just want to get you guys' feet wet and to show you how convenient Bootstrap can be for you. And that this column grid system, it's worth understanding. It's worth peering into and getting a good wrap around it. It did save me to figure this out, and then having required to do it on the job, that was a moment where I was just thankful to the dojo. So I do want to recommend it for you guys as well. So figure out this column grid system and how you can use specific view sizes to change how much of that grid the column takes up at different mobile versus desktop views. Okay. So I know we went over a lot and we still have much to cover today, But with this broad introduction, does anyone have any questions with anything I've done, specific or general? No? Okay, well, thank you guys again for being patient. We've had extra long lectures today. So again, lots to learn. So let's go over our calendar again real quick, just to get ourselves oriented. So we've just learned Bootstrap, different components, the grid system, and I want you guys to have fun exploring Bootstrap, making your own website how you'd like it, using pre-built tools, okay? So have some fun just incorporating components like you saw me do. And I see you guys are having fun clicking around here. But this afternoon at 2 Mountain Time, we're going to start our Agile Development and Project Week introduction lecture. Okay, so I will introduce Project Week to you guys. And by Monday, you guys should have Sean well and ready again. So let's impress Sean on Monday with some great project ideas that we would have had the weekend to think about. So we'll introduce this afternoon. Okay, excited for this lecture. And until then, I'll be in Sean's office. I will take a lunch break, so I'll be out for an hour, but you guys have myself and Vincent to bug and ask questions. Ask us more about Bootstrap, how we can help you make it work for your project, or if you want to bounce any ideas about what you could do for your project. We're going to really start it this afternoon, but feel free to drop by anyways, okay? So thank you guys for your attention. I appreciate your undivided attention. So let's go ahead and close out this lecture. I'm going to stop the recording.